everyone, and welcome back to Poets Return podcast. This is episode 7 in season 1, titled Knowing You're Enough with Elena Scarlett Murray. I've known Elena Murray since college. We've known each other almost a decade, and she's someone whose words have always impacted me and those around us in a great way. And in a huge way, I think that it's really cool when you see your peers rise up and really begin to make their mark in anything that they do and that they're passionate about. And she's really done that here in Los Angeles. Kingdom of Pavement, she's the one who introduced me to Amy and Flannery. She's the one who got me that sort of amazing connection so that I was able to perform there and meet them and interview them. And Elena has performed at Aunt Bessie's with Kingdom of Pavement several times. She's gone to the Poetry Lounge. She's performed at different venues, and she's really shared her words online and with the community, and that's something I really, really admire about her. And I've loved seeing her perform her words more and more. She's actually filmed My Magnificent Body, which is one of the poems that you will hear on the podcast today. And she's going to share a few other poems, and we just have a great time, which if you listen to the trailer, you should check it out. We get very silly. She's one of my dear friends, and even when we're talking about very serious things, eating disorders, broken relationships, trauma, we find a way to kind of laugh through it, and I think that's necessary, not taking yourself too seriously. I almost named this episode that, actually, not taking yourself too seriously. But I named it Knowing You're Enough because that's something that Elena and I have consistently discussed in not only our artistic journeys, but as just our journeys as people. And I think that's something we all struggle with, especially as artists and as writers and actors and all of the things. So I'm really excited. You're going to hear us start to chat underneath this just because there was something about this episode that was really fun to me and friendly and familial. Not familiar, yes, but familial. She's been someone that I consider part of my extended artistic family for a long time. And so to see us both kind of going more into this field and watching her perform and just really excel is special to me. So please enjoy.
That
Here
10
is
points to us.
So yeah, we were talking about poets and body image and all that good stuff, but it's very hard, like we were just saying, to speak to yourself positively and to be able to empower yourself in your head, let alone putting it on paper.
That's
sharing it.
Changing your story, having this piece in particular, My Magnificent Body, is at its very, very baseline essence, about eating disorder recovery and what that's been like for me. And it's a very heavy topic, but in order to be able to grow from it, I think it's really important to, again, change your perception of it. And that's something that I actually discussed, in the literal first line of this poem, where it's all about perception and the perception of yourself and how you can change it in order to feel that empowerment, in order to change the words that you use, to change the story that you tell, to therefore come in and change not only the way you perceive yourself, but the way the world perceives you. And that's pretty much what this piece is about.
And it was amazing being able to read the words when you first sent it to me and hear you, do it, seeing the final product of the visualization with you narrating.
Yeah.
It's a huge victory. It seems weird, but I feel like it makes me want to raise my woman shield.
But it is kind of, it's about taking back your power, and it's about reclaiming it and saying, "Hey, I am worthy.
Right.
This is me, and I love it. So you should love it too. And also, kind of fuck you if you don't, because you're wrong."
Exactly.
Is what the deal is with that, basically. Okay, here we go. Magnificence lies in perception. What you perceive slips wisps of delusion seeping into my ears like a cancer corroding my magic. My magnificent body is firm enough to push off from and ricochet hate like a light beam reflected in that unreliable mirror, and soft enough to dive into, enveloped in a warmth unattainable through the preferable skin and bones. The round curves that are praised in one aspect and ridiculed in another make for a cushioned landing when I fall from your grace. The dimples dance and sparkle, though glittering to reveal an ethereal energy prickling your eyes aglow with passion, then cold with revulsion as they glimpse a part that some would say doesn't belong. A wobbly bit you're programmed to believe must be smaller, smoother, tighter. That corrosion cancer penetrates the tiniest atoms, and whispers dart from within as I swallow my shame in one gulp and choke on my dissatisfaction, basking in relief and disgust, knowing my masochism will do nothing to satiate your desire to tear me down, because there is a joy you see behind my pain that makes you crumble to your knees in prayer. My magnificent body has the power to stretch and reach for everything greater than I had dreamed I could achieve. My magnificent body breathes life into the dead and illuminates what's wrong with your thought process, for the joy that my magnificent body radiates cannot be covered up, cannot be cut down to size, cannot be told is anything but perfect. My magnificent body loves with its whole self, loves you with its whole self, loves itself, because after the cuts heal and leave their scars like a map to an uncharted land to be discovered and explored, full of luscious fruits and succulent flowers so juicy and intoxicating you raise a shrine to it. My magnificent body claims itself in the name of love and adorns my head with a crown of heavenly retribution for all the aversion, self-inflicted or otherwise, to resurrect the queen of self-exaltation, worshipped by all who once deemed her unworthy.
I love that poem so much.
Yay! Me too, honestly. I do. I really do love it.
The whole theme of that poem, to me, culminates when you talk about my whole self, loves her whole, this is all of me.
And there's no parts of it that are wrong.
And how dare you not love all of me? And the parts that you think are wrong are the parts that I'm going to love the most.
Exactly. And that's the thing, too, because, it's so easy for me to be judgmental of my work and to be, critical and find things wrong with shit that you do. And while I'm sure there are probably ways to improve this and make it, something more than what it is, I really love it for exactly what it is, because it's exactly what I needed in that moment. And it was a real, I mean, honestly, from the time I wrote that about a year and a half ago to now, even then, my, post-ED recovery has changed so much because of my perspective shifting having written this. So, regardless of technically how great it is or whatever, based on whoever the fuck says so, what it did for me was something that could not be improved upon.
Because that was what it is.
Yes.
It's like giving birth to something. It's like you can't improve, you know what I mean? That's your journey. It's your evolution. Those are your words.
Yes.
And I think it paints a beautiful picture. And I'll say this again at the end of our episode, but just for everyone to know, Elena does have a page that is strictly it's like your poetry
yes,
page,
yes,
right?
It is. It's relatively new. But my poetry page specifically will lead you to my magnificent body because it is on my YouTube page.
And it is Elena Scarlett Murray. And Scarlett has one L, two T's. Murray has two R's, and it's A-Y. It is E-R-R-Y, like some people spell it.
It's like Bill.
It's like the Bill Murray.
It's like Bill Murray. We're not related, unfortunately.
I don't want to do a Bill Murray impression. I'm not going to try. But, so that was an idea of Elena's words and just how powerful. I love it because it's so many of us, we get caught in the struggle of it. And sometimes it's hard to not only come out of the struggle, but write about, not the resolution, because the resolution is...
There's no concrete resolution ever, I don't really think.
Ever, I agree. But it's coming out of whatever that was and being able to say, guess what? There's hope, there's self-love. Self-loathing, it's very difficult with poetry, with any form of artistic expression, because I'm guilty of this. It's very easy to get stuck in the pain of it and the struggle of it and the turmoil.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's when we write, that's, like you were saying, stream of consciousness.
Oh, absolutely.
Happening, there's a moment, there's a memory, there's a stimulus, whatever it might be that hits you and you're like, I have to tell this.
That's how my whole renaissance of poetry happened in the first place. I literally was just, I had gotten a very mild case of heartbreak after when I was like first dating again after a long-term relationship, and this boy broke my heart, and I was so sad, even though I'd only been like seeing him for like a couple weeks, and I was just devastated, and I was like in my feels, and I was trying to go to sleep, and it was like 3 a.m, and I couldn't sleep, and I just had these words going on in my head, and I was like, guess I gotta write this down. So I started writing it down, and it literally opened floodgates, and I haven't stopped since.
But you know what? Look at Lord Byron and William Wordsworth.
Seriously, it's all about this, like,
they would see a woman in a painting in a house 2 houses down the road through a window.
Be like, I must have you, but I know I cannot, therefore I must lament. It's so silly, but it's, I'm grateful.
Exactly. There's a humor in it to also go, I felt this, and it was passionate and potent and real.
And it was.
And it was.
And it's this snapshot in time. It's such a snapshot in time. Like, I feel like that's so true to so many of my poems, where there is like this very specific moment in time that I'm capturing when I'm writing this stuff. And I look back at some of my older things now, and I'm like, girl, you were in a state. You were in such a state. And it's a state that I don't necessarily feel now.
But it's a state that you were brave enough to feel then.
Yes, exactly.
And
it's hilarious.
Exactly. It's endless material for us.
It's hilarious.
And you know what it means that you're learning. It's the same reason why when you're in 6th grade and you look at the 2nd graders' spelling book, you go, I remember that. It's so easy.
Exactly. There's so many poems like that. I have one that I just performed on Saturday at this open mic that I just thought, kind of for the hell of it, it was one that I always thought would be very well received as spoken word, as opposed to on paper. And my partner actually suggested that I do this one because he loved it so much, and he was like, I really just want to hear it. I think it would sound so great. And I'm like, no, that was the intention when I was writing it, is to have, because it has repetitive things and certain things that sound great out loud. And I was practicing it, and I read it, and I was just like, wow, that was a very, very particular feeling you were feeling. And this is such it's like a little miniature time capsule that you're bringing back, and you're like, I do not feel this way anymore, but that's funny.
Right. And that's it's just like doing a monologue.
It is.
It's like having that perspective on it.
Because it's almost like a completely different person. It's like this character that you're taking on.
And that it's seeing the gift in that, because you know this character better than anyone will know the nuances, the quirks, the fears,
absolutely.
the vulnerabilities. Honestly, that's, again, going back to Poet's Return, like the visualizations, it's because poems tell such potent, powerful, in 3 lines, these words, these stories are so visceral, understandable, relatable. It's almost laughable sometimes how, like we were just talking on the elevator up here, people think poetry's lofty. It's this poetry. Oh, yes, and again.
We must be of a higher intelligence because Shakespeare was a poet. It's like literally the most like cut me open and see me bleed kind of shit, where you're like, I cannot get more honest than this. And I'm not trying to be gatekeepy in any kind of way, but it's like, if it's not like that, it kind of defeats the purpose, I think. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Girl, you and I are on the same page. You and I are on the same page.
It just doesn't need to be anything that it's not. And I feel like some critics of it, or some people who feel like they have some kind of authority over it, are saying like, this is poetry and this is not. And it's like, why? It can be anything.
That's a point. That's a philosophical argument that we've gotten to just in art in general.
Yes.
With music, with visual art, with paintings, with sculptures. I love reading, like, again, I have a Sylvia Plath here because she is lofty as hell.
Absolutely, but also she's so real.
There's something, and that's the thing about her.
So honest.
Is that I don't care, even if you didn't go to college, if you didn't go to school, her words are they can be pretty colloquial at times.
Absolutely.
But even if you didn't have a dictionary beside you, there's something about the way that she puts words together that you would feel and see an image.
Yes.
No matter if you were Joe the plumber or a graduate with your PhD in the whatevers. And
that's what makes poetry so amazing, is because it paints such a vivid picture that is universally understood.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't have to be, it can sound lofty, but it can still make an impact. It can be completely baseline and everyday conversational language, and it'll still have the same effect because it's a relatable situation that someone is putting into your head in this sort of really, really fluid and digestible kind of way.
It's like you're getting it digestible. I love
right
that.
in your
like
veins,
right
though.
Your
Yeah,
veins,
exactly. Like
know?
your impulse there, like right in your veins, because it is visceral. It has this ability, and that's one of the things. I was mentioning this to you earlier, but there's this poet, Jessica Salgado, who is absolutely amazing, and she works with the Poetry Lounge a lot, which is, if y'all who are listening have not been to the Poetry Lounge, it is on
Tuesdays, right?
Tuesday nights, every Tuesday. I've done some of their workshops. They do poetry workshops before the open mics or the slams that they do on Tuesday nights that start at 7. The open mic starts at 9. If you want to go, get in line early because you want to get a seat. Otherwise, you'll be sitting on the stage. And it's fantastic. The poets that come up there are absolutely amazing. Like, there have been such amazing poets that I have started to follow from being there. But Jessica Salgado was on their slam team, is on their slam team. She has 3 books out. I most recently bought her book Hermosa, but she has like a lot of different ones. And they are so beautiful because they are so relatable and they are so visceral. It's just, you read her words and you are saying, oh my God, that exact thing happened to me. And you don't feel alone, and it's amazing.
See, and I've been meaning I need to go. We should go together because
we should go together.
I've been meaning to go.
It's fantastic
because I looked it up and it even says on the website, make sure you get in line
early. I've been going. I was lucky enough. My partner introduced me to the Poetry Lounge, and I've been going for over a year now, and it's amazing. There's so many fantastic poets who go up there. One of the slam coaches, actually, Alicia Wise, is also incredible. She has so many beautiful works out, and she also teaches some of the workshops. It's a great community. It's a great community. It is, though. You're right. It's a great community. If you are a poet in LA or an aspiring poet in LA, you need to be going to the Poetry Lounge. Like, I haven't been able to recently because I have class on Tuesday nights, which sucks, but I'll be back in the spring. Because it's amazing, and it's just a really comfortable, homey environment. They make everyone feel welcome, especially at the workshops too. Like, I remember the first one I went to, I was so goddamn nervous. And Alicia Wise, who is someone who I have just looked up to for a really long time as a poet, she's brilliant. She was teaching the workshop, and she just made me feel like I was cool and normal, and it was great.
And somebody like sees you and hears you.
Yes.
Rare.
She's an amazing, amazing human being. But like all these people who are at the Poetry Lounge are like that. And it's a great, great community. So if you have not experienced it, I do recommend. They're at the Greenway Court Theater on Melrose in Fairfax.
Yeah, see, I've been trying to get out there more because I am trying to share more of my stuff as well, make that plunge into sharing. And so they were one of the first things that came up.
I haven't shared my work there yet. I have not participated in one of their open mics yet, mostly because I'm not available on Tuesday nights, but also because I'm terrified. Because there's some good shit there, man. There's some good shit there, man, and I'm like, do I have a place here? I don't know.
Yes, you do. Yes, but I get you, girl.
But that fear is real,
Of course it is, and that fear, that's the thing, is that fear dictates sometimes more than we'd like to admit.
I know. I just need to say, fuck it.
Hey, you're already further along than I am, so I need to shut up. Be brave,
We'll go together, and we'll just both do stuff.
Well, I'm going to call your professor one day and be like, Elena,
she can't come.
Ran into a what? Where are you?
I steal her away. We go. Bye-bye.
We go. Elena is one of the things, too, talking about this vulnerability, getting out there, putting your words out there, knowing that somebody else is going to feel this way, which is one of the most amazing things, even if it's one person when you share your first poem at a party, and you have the person that just goes, oh my gosh. Even that validation is like, okay, to me being a poet is just being able to tell stories and have somebody look at me and like, it means something.
Be like, yeah, man.
And then it means something to you.
It took me a long time to even call myself a writer or a poet. Right. Sometimes I still have problems with that. Like, this literally happened the other night at this poetry, or this open mic. It wasn't even exclusively poetry. It's a beautiful thing. Actually, I'm going to plug this right now.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, where is it?
So there's this amazing publication called Kingdom of Pavement that is run by some wonderful people and good friends of mine, they're just trying to give voices to up-and-coming artists who live in LA and are basically a platform for people who may not have a platform, people who want to get their work out there, just these amazing artists who, don't really have that voice or that area to be heard or seen. And it's great. So they're an online magazine. You can find them at kingdomofpavement.com. They release a new issue every 2 weeks. One just came out a day or two ago, I believe, with some really interesting articles, some really great poetry, all kinds of cool stuff. But they host an open mic every third Saturday at Aunt Bessie's Creative Center for Healing on Pico on the west side. And it's really great. There were, this past Saturday was their most recent one. I performed there, as well as several other poets, essayists, bands, individual musicians, just wonderful, wonderful group of artists that were coming together. And it's a really cool space and a really wonderful, just warm and welcoming environment. So,
and was that where you did maybe if I use a metaphor?
Yes, correct. Maybe metaphors will help.
Maybe metaphors will help. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's also, taking it back to, the roots of the poetic struggle, where it's
yeah.
Words,
but am I don't know. And that's, another thing. That's one of those poems that I wrote that is, almost really hard to actually say in front of people because it's really honest, and it doesn't necessarily paint me in the best light. There are some really ugly truths that I present there about myself, but I think that's important to acknowledge those ugly truths about yourself so you can confront them and move past them or deal with them in some kind of real way, instead of just being I know those are there, I'm just going to let them be there.
Which is a whole different poetic journey.
Whole different poetic journey.
Well, I think that's something that's meaningful too, is it's your journey will change.
It will.
You riding the wave and knowing, okay, this is where I'm at personally.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at artistically.
Yeah.
This is how my story is.
It's a great tool for self-reflection.
Absolutely. So it's interesting because you and I were speaking before we actually started recording about, reading old stuff and being able to see not only how you've changed, but how your writing has changed.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think, in terms of your writing, and it can be an abstract thing, it can be how I express my emotions, but what do you think is one of the biggest things that's changed for you in terms of just writing?
Well, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is understanding flow and structure. Mm-hmm. I really, again, I don't have a rubric. I'm not working with a plan. Things just kind of happen and they come out in a certain way. And there are some devices and literary devices, that I know and whatever that will just come out at certain points in my poetry. But I would say that I've kind of honed my skill that I say with a gross face and quotation marks. I don't say okay, it's fine. But that I
But it's you're a carpenter, this is your trade.
Right, exactly. And I'm learning more about it as I go along, and as I go along I find that I become less hung up on using flowery language, more focusing on being as honest as I can, trying to be more relatable as opposed to using super elevated language, the joy of repetition and how much fun that is, but also not overusing it in a way that doesn't make it mean anything.
Yes. Because there are moments where you can pull your thesaurus brain out and go, well, I've used that word 17 times.
Right.
And there's a difference between going, I need to have something bigger or loftier than
right.
This. Yeah.
But understanding at the same time that I don't need that, and I can just be really, really vulnerable and say, there's a poem that I wrote. It's a funny story, and I hope that my partner will forgive me for telling the story, but I was feeling really nostalgic and romantic one day, and I wrote a couple of haikus that were about my love for him, which I was oh great, so I shared them with him, and then it kind of didn't go like I thought it was going to. Because he's also a brilliant writer. He doesn't write poetry for anyone but himself. And he would never perform it because he's terrified of performing, but he's brilliant. And he's also a screenwriter and a television writer, and, like, he's a genius. He's just, I could go on, but he's brilliant. Beautiful writer. And so I trust his opinion. I always run my stuff by him. I'm always like, what do you think? Give me notes, like all these things. And I gave them these cues, not for notes or anything. I was just like, because I love you. And he was like, that's really great, but, you know, like, it's almost more meaningful to me if you just, like, tell me how you feel instead of, like, making this, like, grand, like, picture. And it wasn't, like, an asshole thing. Like, no. It was more of a just, like, you don't need all of this. It was like a liberation. It was a liberation thing, and I was just like, oh, my God. And so I wrote this poem called What I Should Have Written. That was just, you know, kind of, like, really, instead of making this, like, grand gesture, flowery, elevated language with all of these metaphors and, like, whatever, it was just, like, how I felt. Mm-hmm. And I gave it to him, and he was so moved by it, you know, like, he was, like, moved to tears by it because he was like, oh, my God, like, this is you showing me yourself. Right. This is you showing me, like, who you really are instead of putting on these kind of airs that are unnecessary. It's like, you know, putting a bunch of, like, too many ingredients in a cookie that would have been fine with just chocolate chips.
Chocolate chips. And it's...
I don't need anything else but you. You don't have to be anything else but who you are, which is really wonderful. Amazing. And a really refreshing relationship that I've never experienced before.
And we're going to give a soft round of applause.
Soft round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's also so freeing for you to be able to know that, like, you don't have to make any excuses. You don't have to, which, again, like, taking it back to my magnificent body, I think that's also in that theme of stripping away and saying, like, this is the naked, raw me.
Yes.
And I should never apologize for it.
No, and
appreciating that your words don't need
all this extra shit on top of it. Yeah, it doesn't need a coat, doesn't need a hat, doesn't need a fancy scarf or a feather.
Well, I would love to hear another piece if you have another piece you would like.
Yeah, I do. I'm wondering, okay, so tell me, should I do the poem that I was just talking about with what I wrote for my partner, or should I do one of my older ones that was, like, making me laugh about, like, a moment in time? What I feel like I need to do, though, is read you the haikus first.
Yes! I was going to suggest that, but I didn't know if you had them in.
I do.
I didn't want to put you on spot. Okay.
I do.
Yes.
So this is a piece called A Series of Dumb Love Haikus. It's hilarious, though. Honestly, I think it's really funny.
I'm excited.
The water inside, cresting and breaking to show how full in love lies. That's the first one. This is the second one. This electric love shocks with waves riding the tides of my blood. You can't. I mean, like, I get it. I get what he was talking about now. This is the third one. Pools of liquid love, more vast than my breath can hold, drown me in craving. Like, I totally understand what he's talking about now, where I'm like, this is fucking dumb, Elena. Like, what?
No.
Like,
but do you know how many, like, love poems all the greats ripped up?
I know, but they were very real feelings. They were just, like, translated in this way. So
those were the haikus.
So those are the haikus. And then he was like, we don't need that.
Right.
Just be yourself.
Just be you, girl.
So this is what I wrote. That's what you should write, he said to me, with the utmost sincerity in his eyes, already reeling from an evening filled with embodying his perception of everything he did wrong. I thought these would make you feel better, I reply, feeling the weight of criticism crushing my organs as I free fall into the ball of how small can I make myself so you can't see me. What do these words mean to you? He asked, trying to recover from the obvious devastation he didn't mean to inflict, further adding to the laundry list of things he thinks he felt short on tonight. They mean, I think, how wonderful it is to love you. They mean, I say, that the way you make me feel brings tears to my eyes. When we kiss that you can't see, happy tears that concealed by faces smushed to faces. You should write that, he said, as I smack into the bottom of whatever abyss I had been falling down. Your skin is too soft, I think, knowing I want this opinion I cherish so much, but not knowing how we got to this place where everything feels wrong for no reason. How did we get here? I asked. I don't know, he replied, staring into the blue glow of a screen so easily used as a crutch when things are hard. What I should have written was, I finally feel like the look in your eyes matches the look in mine. What I should have written was, the absence of questioning how you feel about me has unbound the knots in my stomach and freed space to fill with love for myself. What I should have written was, time does not exist when we're together. We are everything and nothing at the same time, liberated from judgment and fear. What I should have written was, the thought of you surges through me like a magic I never knew I had. What I should have written was, though I've said it 100 times, I love you doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. What I should have written was, this love spans across eons, how long I've waited for you. If I could have pieced you together from a million other ideals I've held, I couldn't have created someone as perfect. What I should have written was, I am yours, completely, for as long as I have breath in my lungs, and then some. Come here, I say, slapping the glow into darkness, dragging my nails through his hair, my prescription for his melancholy, as we begin to hear a rhythmic percussion from the other side of the wall, pounding faster and faster, and we laugh.
Love that. And that was everything that you said in the haikus.
That was.
Waves cresting and falling, that was the blood,
Yeah.
that was all everything, but in a way that where we as the audience can go on the journey with you.
Yes, exactly.
It's not us looking at a pretty picture in a big fancy museum where we can't take pictures and
No.
we can't touch it, we can't look at it.
Yeah.
It's us wading through a tide pool, playing, crying, loving, living.
Yes, just real and
Real.
being there and experiencing it and not trying to make it something that it's not trying to make it something that's not necessarily not, but making it this just very, very real and visceral truth that
it's like
doesn't need all the extra
you don't
stuff.
need the bells and whistles.
No, yeah. Because it already is so much more powerful the way that it is.
Right. And I think it's also that we, just as human beings in situations, we have defense mechanisms, we have things that come into play when a vulnerability happens. This happens in our writing too, where we go, I'm going to make this thing, instead of going, I'm going to just dive into this, which I love, you know.
Yes.
At the beginning when you say, as I, smack rock bottom, because it's also you not nullifying your journey as an independent person, that you're still going on this journey.
Oh, yeah,
But
definitely.
it's that you have this partner
Yeah.
who's going through a journey as well,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to, from an outside perspective, say, well, why don't you write that?
Right, because this is what I think and I love you and I want you to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is cool.
And
So why aren't you doing it like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's from a really wonderful place of collaboration and inspiration that is so amazing and really free of judgment. And that's been a journey that I've been on as well, as far as like taking criticism in a good way. Because, as someone who also went through a really intensive acting program, it's really hard to deal with taking criticism. And I explained it to him in this way where it's like, I can go on auditions and get feedback and get notes and churn it out like clockwork and it doesn't affect me. But poetry is so new and raw and real and personal, and it's like everything that I am, that I don't understand how to separate myself from constructive criticism or notes yet. So I can get very sensitive about it, where I'm like, you think it's shit? Oh my God, I'm a failure.
It's like a badge of it's like you tore a piece of your own flesh and put it on. So it feels
Exactly.
like a judgment of your character.
Exactly.
Your story.
Exactly. And so that was really hard for me. I'm getting a lot better at it, I think, and I've told him and other people too, I'm like, I really want this, it's all kind of about not only my mental preparedness, but like their understanding of my mental preparedness, and being like, I am ready to receive this after this initial moment of telling me all the good things about it.
Yeah, first positive, please.
First positive, then tell me how I can improve.
You're supposed to do. That's technically how constructive criticism is supposed to work.
Right.
It's supposed to give you the
yeah.
the good stuff first. But it's hard. It's like you're shedding your soul.
Yeah, definitely. But that's a process for me too. That's something that I'm actively working on, trying to separate myself from the work, even though the work is myself.
But enough to where you can have.
But enough where I can be like, okay, let's look at it from a audience perspective and see like what is working and what's not, and how I can improve it.
Which is such a hard line to walk.
It really is.
Then if you go too far to that degree, then you go, well, it's all shit, you know.
Exactly.
And then you never finish anything because you know, that's my issue is I over edit and then nothing ever gets done because I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of journeys as an artist, I would love to hear the poem that you were from the beginnings of your poetry journey that you were going to share before your...
Oh my God, okay. So this
stuff.
one is really angry. Like, it's so angry because it's coming out of a breakup. And,
do you remember, so what time period? Was this like 20...
This was like 2 years ago.
Okay. That's about where I was going to guess, but I didn't want to.
No, this was 2 years ago. I was coming out of a very serious relationship, and I was so angry. I was just very, very angry, and I don't feel this way now. Maybe there are some things I still ring true a little bit, but for the most part, like, I'm just not in that place at all. Like, I'm actually on very good terms with this person.
Well, there can be opinions you still hold that aren't necessarily specific to this relationship.
Absolutely. Right? Yes, completely. Yeah. But it's really funny to look back at it and be like, wow, this was a very specific moment in time. I had very specific feelings about this. There was a lot going on that is not relevant or even at all happening today, and it's very, very funny. So, I did warn you, it's angry. I call bullshit. It's too hard for you to speak candidly with me. Bullshit. If you speak candidly, that means I speak candidly, and you can't handle images of me with other men swirling in your bullshit. Sad and very alone. I say that's bullshit because your resurrection by the hands of a ghost is more present than any conversation I had with you during those last 3 months. Bullshit to the face you make that you knew I loved, that you know will work on some other poor girl who wants to bandage up your damage and kiss it better. Bullshit, that face isn't real. What about anything you're presenting yourself right now as is? You're an artist with your charm. As your ego explodes all over any woman that will lick it up, you lay there dripping in your bullshit. I care about you. Bullshit. Someday, I hope. Bullshit. I made a lot of good friends. Bullshit. You're stronger than you let on. Bullshit. I want to be friends. Bullshit. This split that I am somehow the only one who can see. This movie projected on a screen that audiences cheer for. This little boy screaming at you from some place you will never visit. This burn. This shotgun blast. This electronic high, this replacement doormat, this love you claim to still hold and will hold forever that I cannot see anymore is all bullshit.
I'm probably just still in an angrier place in my life, but I fucking love that.
But you know, you see it and you're like, whoa, that was a lot of feeling.
But that's what's so great about it.
Yeah.
Is because you're not there now.
No, I'm not.
At all.
Not at all.
Not in any way, but that moment is so potent. It's like it's like getting burned with a hot poker, but I want it. I love it.
Right?
Because
yes,
I know
completely.
And I can go, I know
this feeling. I know this pain. Like, it's very relatable. It's very, very relatable because we have all been there, and you can feel it. You can feel it.
And I think, call me crazy, but I think that poem would actually be really fun to visualize.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, there's so many different, I mean, right now my head is swimming. There's so many different ways you could do it. You could do it with a cast of a bunch of, you know, not even just women, but people in relationships, and you're just going through every time bullshit. It's a different scenario.
Yeah.
It's a different person being lied
I do like that idea of, like, a bunch of different women saying the word bullshit.
Because, and I'm not saying that, disclaimer, men may use bullshit. It is fine for men to use the word bullshit, or 2 words. But
women use the word bullshit more.
There is something about a heterosexual male to female relationship.
Yeah.
Specifically. You go through, you watch Cheers, you watch the old sitcoms from the 70s.
Yes, completely.
Even, any Happy Days, any of that shit.
Yeah.
There's something about the mom, the matriarch of the family. You will, even, that was like the cut, like, bullshit.
Bullshit.
Because it's like, so many times I feel like, and it doesn't even have to be women, but it's like that power, that force in the family, the relationship, the friendship, the business structure, whatever it is, that has to come out and say,
there's so many things that women have to call bullshit on.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's just the world that we live in. And now, not even now, it's been going on for a long time, but there's a big resurgence now of women just being like, absolutely not, that's fucking bullshit.
Right.
No.
Right.
And this is specifically pertaining to a relationship, an ex-relationship, but it's the same kind of idea. It's the same, I'm calling you on this because for whatever reason, you feel like you have to lie to me.
Right.
And women are being lied to all the time.
And it's almost like you're coming out and saying, this is unnecessary.
I see through it. You don't have to do
Why
this.
are you doing this?
Why can't you just be honest?
Just be honest.
Yeah, no. It's very true. It's very true.
So I just, that, because it's so relatable, it's so visceral, and that, you know, there can be times when people use repetition in poetry and you get to a point where you're like, I don't know if I can hear that anymore. But not with that one. It's satisfying the whole way through. And the way
bullshit's a very satisfying thing to say.
Well, and you color it not just in your performance, but in the way that it shifts throughout the story. The bullshit changes. The bullshit evolves. Okay? So
Yes.
This is
Yes.
art in its truest form. When you can make shit evolve,
Yeah.
you are onto something. But no, I think that any of your works would be great for visualizations. I could see that one being a really strong feminist piece that actually says, like you were just saying, how many times do we have to call bullshit because it's literally part of it's what we have to do.
It's what we do all the time.
We're fed spoonfuls of it on the daily.
Yeah. People, men, for some reason, seem to think we can't take anything else. And it's just not true.
But thank you. Like, and by the way, we'll definitely be having you back.
Yay!
Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Poets Return. Tell your story. Make your story. Like, that was
absolutely
that's powerful, because that's really, I think, the essence of poetry is that you can't, really, there comes a point where you can't lie.
You can't. And the words that you use are very important.
Very important. Yes. It's like, that is how we, to bring it all back to the houses of Hogwarts,
there you
how
go.
we use our magical powers.
It is.
With our magical words, and we don't realize the gravity of it sometimes.
Yes.
I feel like I should have the reading rainbow, like the sound right now. This is my sign off.
Butterflies in the sky. I can go twice as high.
It still makes me feel hope.
I know, doesn't it, though?
It does.
Lamar Burton, he did it for us. Anyway, thank you for having me. This was great. I'm super excited, and this is really fun.
And yes, again, follow Elena Scarlett.
Poets Return, a poetry podcast where artists share their work and discuss their process, and let you see the story behind the words. This audio production is copyright 2019 by the Poets Return podcast, all rights reserved. The copyrights for each story are held by the respective authors. No duplication or reproduction of this audio program is permitted without the written consent of Melissa Bowie.